Stay updated with what businesses are doing in the Middle East and find new strategies to grow your business. I am Ayman Aitani, Business Growth Specialist, and this is BizWrap. Today, triggered by Anghami's listing on the Nasdaq, I talk about the different stages of a startup and what exit options there are. Plus, Clubhouse is hot. I've been interviewed so many times this week with questions related to Clubhouse. I will share with you what Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook are doing to compete. And Twitter has a paid service coming up called Super Follows. I cover what this means to you both as a user and as a content creator. Lastly, in a retro bit, the iPod turns 20. We will take a look back together on the iPods and the ads from that period. I'm Ayman Aitani, and this is BizWrap.
It's the hottest game show in history.
Hey, I'm out.
3 teams dare to make it to the exit without falling in. The team with the most points wins $10,000.
I've been watching a lot of The Floor is Lava with my kids on Netflix. And that has inspired what we're going to look at today, the different stages of the startup. So in a startup game, I'd like to call the growth, death, or plateau of your business. Yes, plateau and death of a business are business realities. In the media, usually the coverage is about the unicorn, the camel. So join me while we look at what does it mean for businesses in terms of growth, death, and plateau. Welcome to the growth, death, or plateau of your business. Our contestants all start out at the idea stage and they go through a treacherous path all the way up to what they believe they will reach a unicorn or camel stage. Inevitably, a lot of them end up in the business graveyard. Our contestants at the idea stage are many. You see them in your day-to-day lives, they talk about starting a business, the years pass by and they're still talking about that business. Some of them even claim it's a retirement activity. A few of them are brave enough to actually create a company. They move to an early stage business and start to service some clients to figure out product market fit. What is product market fit? You know how you play XO and you're always trying to figure out different moves? Sometimes they work and sometimes they don't? That's a very simple way of finding out product market fit, to experiment, to identify what the market really needs. Successful businesses have a decent cash flow, meaning they don't worry about making payroll or where their next revenue is coming from. They can stay at the plateau stage for years and years and years. They may drop down, they may move up, but a lot of them stay within this vicinity. The growth stage. You know when you hit the gym for a while and you watch your food and then you become in a decent physical position to be the envy of your friends? Yep, that is what the growth stage looks like. What helps is being able to go through all of these stages unscathed. Another thing that helps is getting funding. What does funding mean? You take your idea and you pour money into it. It helps you move from stage to stage. Then what do? You raise money again and you move. Then you raise money again and you move. As with many problems in life, money helps address many issues. Maturity in business is similar to when you're in a relationship. When you feel it's a solid relationship, it's mature, but you're always wondering, is this it? What is next for me? The camel, the unicorn, the media darling. In media, you're either the unicorn or you're nothing. The media does not acknowledge what's in between. Unicorn meaning a global acquisition, Uber acquiring Careem, Amazon acquiring Souk, or a public listing, such as Anghami listing on the Nasdaq. Each of these stages can easily go down to the business graveyard. A series of small mistakes and unfortunate activity leads you there. It could be founder problems, cash problems, or other things. All of them push the business into the ground. So my entrepreneurship friends, if you want to play the startup game, get out of the idea stage, forget about becoming a camel or unicorn. That's the exception, not the rule. Focus on being somewhere successful, growth, or mature. Thank you for playing growth, death, or plateau of your business. I will see you in the struggles that nobody talks about in between the stages. Surviving the struggles is the area I specialize in and help other business owners with, the real business growth that nobody talks about. Welcome to business. All right, again. Business, growth, death, or plateau? Nah. Or death. Thank you for... What was it? Thank you. Yes. Unicorn stage, meaning Kareem acquiring souk. شو Kareem acquiring souk? There's something about the 10-year mark for any business that has a certain level of maturity. So when it comes to Anghami listing on the NASDAQ, that's a form of an exit. And for investors, they're always looking for a bigger return. So for example, if you're very large and a global competitor comes to the region and does not acquire you, you might not be able to give the 10x return that the investor is looking for. So an alternative would be to list on the Nasdaq. That's a form of an exit. Although not a lot of companies in the Middle East actually do so. Fadi Ghandour published an article where he spoke about Adamex. Adamex was the first company to do so 24 years ago. So 1997 was Adamex, and in 2021 there's Anghami. That's it. All the way in the middle, there was nothing. So he spoke about, in his article, he talked about the parallel between when he was leading Adamex at the time and competing with the global giants, and the parallel of what Anghami is doing. This is the link to the article. I also look forward to
Two, three, four. 2, 3, 4.
Imagine there's no heaven. No desesperes, bro. It's easy if you try. Juntos lo conseguiremos. Quédate en casa.
Above us only sky.
En la unión está la fuerza.
Imagine all the people
Living for today.
Clubhouse is hot. Two signs. One, over the last 10 days, I've been interviewed at least 3 times to answer questions about what does it mean and why is it popular and how is it competing with others. So it was a very busy media week for that. That's the first sign. The second sign is others are trying to compete. So Twitter launched something called Spaces. Instagram launched Rooms. Facebook is rumored to have its own version of it. So that audio popularity is growing, led by Clubhouse, and the others are competing with that. What does Clubhouse actually mean? So there's a formal way of explaining it and an informal way of explaining it. So the formal way of explaining it is that it is a combination of a panel in a conference, but it's audio only, Zoom, a podcast, and a radio. So that's a formal way of doing it. The informal way of doing it is more on the, if I want to take a Middle Eastern example, at Eid, we're celebrating over lunch. So it's a long table with a large family there. You have the senior members of the family. They're discussing a very thorny social topic. And the rest of us are listening, pondering, and commenting among ourselves on what that actually means. So that's a summarized way of looking into Clubhouse. منصة كلوب منصة صوتية فيها غرف رقمية، كل غرفة لها معلومة معينة، موضوع معين. أنا بنصحكم تفوتوا على منصة كلوب هاوس وتسمعوا وتتعلموا. Twitter launched a paid service called Super Follows. It's a way for users who have a large audience so that they can monetize their users. What stood out for me here is it's a significant change for what social networks usually look at. Social networks usually look at something called DAU, daily active users. And they have teams after teams looking at technology and tactics in order to get us as users to continue to use the app, to spend more time there, to come back to the app via notifications and many triggers and so on. If you've seen The Social Dilemma on Netflix, they address this topic and how we're triggered to spend more and more time in the social networks. What Twitter is approaching is different. They're approaching something called MDAU, which is the monetizable daily active users. So that means the number of users who are readily paying for services to get the content from the micro community that they follow. So what that means is the pressure moves away from the social network to continue to push us to come in. So it's moving away from social network and from us as users. And that pressure has moved towards the content creator. So that content creator now has a craft. And I use the craft specifically because that content creator will need to always try to find ways to better engage this community, to get them to come back again and again. And they'll be paying for a subscription to access that piece of content, whether it's email or video or written form. So that will need to have value, and that will add more pressure on that content creator. What does that mean for you as a user? You already pay now for at least 2.5 subscriptions between Netflix, Disney Plus, OSN, Shahid, Apple TV Plus. So you already pay for that. This is a form of an additional subscription that you pay for a micro community that you want to follow. So it might be a few dollars, it might be more, depending on the person you're trying to follow. So that's an additional subscription for you to get this real good content. The iPod is 20 years old. 20. Back then, I'm sure you were very likely in class, sitting in the back with the earpiece, listening. You're listening to music, but you're in class, not actually paying attention. We've all been there and done that. You've listened to it in the car while driving, or socially when you're with friends. That was 20 years ago. When I look at the images and the videos and the ads of the old iPod, it triggers a warm feeling because this period because music for me means a lot. I spend a lot of time listening to music, and the retro tech bit, how it was designed, the audio, the artwork, and so on. So that has a precious part for me even since then. And also a part that breaks my heart a little bit. A lot of my friends, we used to listen to a lot of music together and so on. And as they grew older, they lost interest in music, and they're listening to less music. And I think that's also another casualty of us becoming adults. On Spotify, I use public playlists. So if you want to look at what I listen to, if you search for Ayman Aitani on Spotify, music I share is usually electronic and dance, or retro, or chill out house. I personally judge people based on their music, so this is a great opportunity for you to take a look and judge and gossip about why I've chosen this particular song added there, especially with the retro bit. So with that, I leave you with wishes of good music in your home, in your office, and your AirPods. Thank you for joining.
All right, the episode is over. Thank you for watching.